You are listening to Scenecraft Nightcap. Welcome to our first Nightcap, a series of bonus episodes where we pull back from the scene and into the wider world of film. I'm Cody, here with my co-hosts,
Mark
and Connor.
Tonight we're going to pour ourselves a drink, recap the 95th Academy Awards ceremony, and run through all 10 films in the Best Picture category in the style of our Quick Takes segment. So first off, big win for Everything Everywhere All at Once. What'd you guys think?
Ooh, yeah, that was a great
hell
win.
Yeah. So happy to see them win. I mean, how fun, just to see the recognition that they got tonight.
Yeah, they really did sweep, and I know that we all filled out ballots as a lot of people do tonight, and anything that had Everything Everywhere All at Once written in there, we got those right. So huge win for them. Please, everyone who's listening, check out our episode about Everything Everywhere All at Once, where we break down a scene from that film. We all really, really love it. So just really happy that they all won. Congratulations to that team.
Yeah, huge congrats. That's awesome.
So overall, what did you guys think of the ceremony aside from that, the big Best Picture win? Any memorable moments for you? Any big upsets?
So this felt like a return to form for me compared to the previous 2 years. With the COVID in 2020, it just felt strange for obvious reasons. And then last year, I think everything was kind of overshadowed by the infamous slap. And then I feel like this year, things were kind of back on the same track. I thought that the ceremony itself had the proper amount of jokes. The winners had some great speeches. I think the one odd choice was there was a lot of time spent on studios plugging their IP for whatever reason.
Yeah. Oh, completely agree.
What did you guys think of that?
Totally. Like those ads really felt jarring, and the Little Mermaid thing, the Warner Brothers thing, just like really sort of disrupted the flow of everything. And I have no idea why they spent so much time on it. It felt like they were holding us captive as an audience.
Especially for a ceremony that goes notoriously long. It just was kind of surprising that they devoted so much time to those.
And yeah, I feel like when I see people getting played off the stage, which I hate to see, why are you giving so much time to these ads? I get it, but like there's got to be some kind of happier medium that they could find.
It's disappointing in some ways.
Yeah.
Going back to our personal ballots, Connor came away with the big win this evening. Congratulations, Connor.
Congratulations, Connor. It was a roller coaster.
Hey, thanks.
It was, especially because right from the outset, Connor just blowing that first category. Best animated film?
Best animated feature. Yeah. I went with Marcel, which was like
he went with
a
his
pick
heart.
from the heart for sure. And you guys picked Pinocchio, so I thought I was out for the night, but clawed my way back, and I'm just gonna pour a little drink here, a little nightcap to celebrate. So I did not expect to win. I'm really reveling in it. So
no, you came back. You came back with the Jamie Lee Curtis win. We both had Carrie from Banshees to win that one, and so to see her win, I was obviously happy to see it. But you were the only one that picked her out of us three. So congratulations on that call.
Thanks. Yeah, I was like, why not? I really felt like she had the best performance. Carrie Condon did an amazing job. I think she probably still has her best performance in her a little later on, but Jamie Lee Curtis really felt like she delivered a truly special performance for Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I had to go with her, and I'm so happy she won.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie Lee, she took the creative brief of that movie and embodied it.
Yes.
Yeah. She truly made that role her own and really just added to she understood the tone and the perfect balance of this like really bizarre humor, and yet the emotion was totally there. By the end of the film, her understanding of Michelle Yeoh's character and their situation, it just full range of emotion. She did such a great job. I didn't pick Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm so glad I've never been happier to experience a loss on my ballot than that moment. And then, of course, you have Ki Huy Kwan, who won Best
Oh my
Supporting
gosh.
Actor.
Yeah.
What an incredible speech.
Probably my favorite speech of the night.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Just really inspiring. He's had just a string of amazing awards season speeches, and I was actually curious what he was gonna say tonight and how you mix it up.
I feel like that's an art in and of itself,
Oh, yeah.
because it's so easy to fall into the same trappings of your previous speech. And so because he has been decorated with all these awards recently, he has to kind of come up with something unique with each speech. And I thought his Oscar speech completely delivered.
Totally.
Yeah, he was a total pro. I mean, you could totally tell he was getting emotional, but then he pulls out that great speech, which it was so touching. And I really loved the moment. I'm sure you guys caught it at the Best Picture win when he and Harrison Ford had a little exchange, which was really great to see. It was so fun seeing like him get to connect with his old buddy and celebrate. Just a really joyous high note to start the ceremony on with his win. So happy to see that.
So both of you guys picked Brendan Fraser as Best Actor this year, and I'm sure you were pretty glad to see that he won.
Oh yeah.
This was like, I mean, it was so great to see Key win earlier, but seeing Brendan win, it's like what I really wanted. Going into the
I just wanted another speech from him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to summarize the rest of the ceremony, did you guys have any other memorable moments that stuck out? Or better yet, I just wanted to bring up a couple films or a couple people that may have been snubbed, as they say.
I was a little disappointed to see that Babylon wasn't really recognized this time around. I thought it was an incredible film.
Completely agree. And will tell anyone that is listening to this that our first ever sort of quote unquote test episode was for a scene from Babylon, which, you know, we're not gonna release that one because it was truly a test, but you never know.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. It was a demo. And we all raved about the film and broke down a scene from that. And so to me, the lack of wins for Babylon was a bit of a disappointment too. Yeah.
I'd even argue that Babylon may have been one of the reasons why we started this podcast in some ways.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like we all saw it. We were super passionate about it. I mean, we've always been passionate about movies, but that film in particular struck a chord in all of us. And we just had this really in-depth conversation about it, and then kind of turned into this podcast that we have today.
One small take from me, I think Babylon got completely robbed for production design. All Quiet was great. Don't get me wrong, but Babylon was just on another level in terms of the production design, and what an incredible movie to see in theaters. It was just stunning.
Yeah, Connor, in fact, I would say more so than any of the other nominees in the category, Babylon featured its production design and set in a way that was integrated directly into the plot of the movie. It actually played a major role in driving that film. You know, from the vignette sets that you see out in the desert to the sound stages, it is worth watching just for that alone in that period setting. Yeah, so robbed for sure. I agree. But also really happy for the team on All Quiet on the Western
Totally
Front.
well deserved.
It's hard to be mad about any of these winners because everything was great.
And I know we're going to get into this shortly, but the Best Picture nominations and a lot of the other nominees, it was just a really solid year for film. I feel like there were a lot of really great movies that were made last year. There's no real losers.
Yeah, I'll just say here at the top that I would recommend all top 10 films. There are some that weren't my favorite films of the year. I would recommend them all. There weren't, for one reason or another. There were. I see you giving me that face, Mark, and we'll get to it.
We'll get to it. Oh, we'll get to it.
You'll have to back that up, but
yeah, I will. And you know what? I will. But there aren't any on that list where I'm like, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. I may be selective in my recommendation, but yeah. One big loss for me, and I don't think you guys had checked it out yet, but Decision to Leave being
Oh,
left out of
yeah.
Best International Picture category, I do feel like that was a bit of a misstep. I really enjoyed that film.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I saw that one too last fall, and
Oh yeah,
really memorable. Definitely stuck with me, and I felt like it should have been up for sure.
yeah, and then obviously Mr. James Cameron being left out of Best Directing category, which a
Yeah.
lot of people say is why why he did not attend. I don't know if there's any truth to that,
Mhm.
but what he had to shoulder, he's working so closely with VFX. It is a director role in the truest sense,
Yeah.
and just having to really push all of the technical boundaries there. It seems odd to me that he wasn't included in there.
Well, what's weird to me is like when you think about it in the totality of how much time that film took to make, it might be one of the longest like timelines that a director has ever worked on a film, right? In the
Right.
history of film. So to be left out of that conversation felt like it didn't really sit right with me either.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe a lot of that self-imposed, but a lot of
Hmm.
it I think is like when you see the final product, you can tell why this took the amount of time that it took, I think.
Yeah. One really goofy thing, Mark, you pointed this out. Mark was like a minute ahead of us on the film delay for the broadcast of the Oscars, but Mark pointed out how close the cameras pushed in on Lady Gaga during her song performance. It was such a funny moment. They got uncomfortably close to her face.
Yeah.
It was just way too tight.
Yeah, what happened
I
there? And we were talking about earlier during the ceremony, just generally when someone stepped up to accept their award, it really got up in there,
Oh yeah.
and it was just kind of a creative choice that I think was meant to create intimacy in the moment, but really created this claustrophobic feel.
Hmm.
I think Lady Gaga's was just 3 steps too far.
Yeah, yeah.
I get the
It just
intimacy of
kept
her
going.
introducing her own song, but at the same time, I just kept asking myself, "Can they get closer? Can," and they just kept
And they
getting
would.
closer and closer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it did. So yeah, it was a very uncomfortable moment, but I thought she gave a great performance.
Yeah. Oh, she kills it as always.
All right, now let's move on to the list of 10 nominees for Best Picture for the evening. We'll do a rundown in alphabetical order as they were listed on the ballot, and we're going to go ahead and read the title of each of the films, as well as the director, and give a brief log line. And then we're each going to give some of our thoughts, and we may get a little bit into the details of the film, but we're going to try to avoid spoilers if we can. All right, so alphabetically, we start with All Quiet on the Western Front. All Quiet on the Western Front is set during World War I, following the life of an idealistic young German soldier named Paul Baumer. So I saw this film later on in the awards season. I was really blown away by this movie. I remember you guys talking about it
Yeah.
on one of our episodes, and hearing that 3 or 4 note score that just haunts you throughout the film, and I knew what you were talking about immediately
Oh
right
yeah.
when that hits. And for me, just especially in the beginning of the film, seeing the mechanics of war, just the process so precisely visualized, how a young soldier is killed and a uniform is then passed on through this process and being refitted and
Mhm.
and reissued
Yeah.
to a new soldier that's just slotted in like a machine, the machine of war. And just to see it visualized in this way was so satisfying, very, very dark, very grim. Again, the score, incredible. The look of the film, there's a reason why it won Best
Hmm.
Cinematography this
Mhm.
evening, James Friend. Well done. I mean, it is unbelievable looking. So, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I reviewed this film during our last episode, but in short, I think it's an incredible war film, and I don't think it necessarily pushes any significant boundaries, but it doesn't have to because it doesn't shy away from the brutality and horrifying nature of war. I thought that the performances were incredible, and I think the cinematography was really something to write home about.
Yeah, I would recommend it too. I don't have much to add. Super solid war movie. It's really confident and effective in its message and its craft. And like you guys, I loved that super memorable, really ominous score, and felt like it wasn't appropriately used in the ceremony tonight. They they kind of played it a lot. Anytime somebody from All Quiet on the Western Front won something, but it sticks with you. So it's one thing that I think about a lot from the movie. The next one that we have on our list is Avatar: The Way of Water, directed by James Cameron. And the logline for this one reads: Jake Sully lives with his newfound family formed on the extrasolar moon Pandora. Once a familiar threat returns to finish what was previously started, Jake must work with Natiri and the army of the Na'vi race to protect their home. I really loved this. I already talked about it on one of our previous episodes, just for the incredible work and craft that was put into it. I mean, it's James Cameron. It's Jim.
It's Jim, baby.
I made a point to see this on opening night. I'm so glad I did it. Was it the best movie of the year? No, probably not. But I think it really pushed the boundaries of filmmaking craft the most out of any of the nominees this year. And obviously, really happy to see it win Best Visual Effects because it completely and totally deserved it.
Yeah, that was, I think, Mark, was it you who said, I've never been this sure about anything
in my entire life. Yeah.
my entire life that would win Best VFX. So for me, The Way of Water still felt a little bit derivative, like its predecessor, but also like its predecessor. It's an indisputable technical wonder. James Cameron knows what the fuck he's doing time after time, every film he's made. And this is just another truly solid blockbuster sensation. It was just so much fun to see. I think you could kind of link back it coming to theaters and it breaking box office records as a resurgence of the theater going experience in the past year. So happy for their team. I had a ton of fun with it.
I think you guys both put it pretty well. I don't know if I have too much more to add, but I will say that Cameron definitely paints himself into these corners that are very hard to get out of. A $2 billion budget, this extended period of time in between the original and this one, and somehow he always beats the odds and creates an incredible product. And this one's no different. It's a visual spectacle, and I think it really doubles down on the world building in a really fun and innovative way. So if it was to walk away with any awards tonight, I'm really happy that it won Best Visual Effects because it definitely deserved it.
Yeah, well said.
So the third movie we're going to talk about is The Banshees of Inisherin, which was directed by Martin McDonagh. The logline reads, two lifelong friends find themselves at an impasse when one abruptly ends a relationship with alarming consequences for both of them. So this may have been my favorite film of 2022. I know it may be a controversial take, but I just feel like there wasn't much like this in recent memory for me. The plot is so low stakes, but at the same time, everything gets amplified by the extraordinary script and amazing performances. I mean, it's quite literally about a friend who no longer wants to be friends with somebody else. And then by the end of the film, you're taken to a completely different place. There's meditations on loneliness and the desires for connection that I think are very carefully counterbalanced with true hilarious moments and levity. I really enjoyed this film, and I think it was probably my favorite film of 2022.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, same here. The writing here and the specificity was really incredible, and that's what made the film for me. I didn't love the disturbing nature of it, but I really appreciate how McDonagh and everybody associated with the film just really went for it and doubled down on it and created something really unique and memorable. So I would recommend checking out The Banshees of Inisherin.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it too. But going back to what I said at the top of the podcast, this is one of those films where I would be selective in how I recommend it. As Connor said, if you're a bit squeamish, it's hard to watch, honestly. Not just two friends deteriorating, but elements of violence to some degree. It can be a little tricky to watch, but for me, that made it all the more effective and punctuated these notes of beautiful visual simplicity and setting paired with this extremely complex thematic resonance. I mean, just that theme alone, a friendship
Yeah.
dissolving, is so fascinating to watch. And I can speak as a Midwesterner. It was a painful thing to watch someone not be nice to somebody
Yeah.
anymore.
Uh-huh.
That being the main theme of the film. So
No, it's a
it
great
was,
point. That's so true. It really hit home.
yeah, it did.
So our next one is Elvis, directed by Baz Luhrmann, and it's about the life of American music icon Elvis Presley from his childhood to becoming a rock and movie star in the 1950s, all while maintaining a complex relationship with his manager, Colonel Tom Parker. So for me, Luhrmann's movies always felt like a really long music video, and this might be the best example of that. I hated Tom Hanks' performance in this. I thought this whole thing was kind of a slog, to be honest, but I think some sequences of it were really great. And Elvis's story is just way too much to pack into a feature film, but kind of interesting to watch it. Austin Butler did a great job. Production design was great. It was just too much visually, whatever, for me to take in. It was a lot.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the movie was kind of a mess in that, especially the first third,
Yeah.
where it's just trying to shove so much pure information at you to try to get you up to speed for some of the more interesting moments or scenes in Elvis's career. So it is just kind of a visual cacophony, and it's tough to wade through, and especially at that runtime. But as you said, Austin Butler, undeniably incredible
Hmm.
performance. I had Austin marked as my best actor
Yeah.
winner this evening.
Mhm.
And yeah, echoing your comment, Connor, I just found the Tom Hanks performance to be really puzzling. Honestly, it was just a bit of a caricature to me. And yeah, maybe it sort of fits into that aesthetic style that Lerman is going for, but I just don't think it compared for me to the more understated performance of Butler.
Yeah.
However, as I was saying earlier, would still recommend the film to some level because I think most people I speak with in daily life would enjoy it to
Okay.
some degree. Just the chaos of it, the fun of it.
So I think I probably like this film the most out of us three. I think Austin Butler's performance is worth the watch alone.
Yeah.
And I think that Baz Luhrmann's direction lends itself very nicely to a film like this larger than life entity of Elvis on screen. And so one thing I really appreciated about this film was that it taps into the tragic nature of Elvis as a public figure, especially towards the end of his life. I don't want to spoil too much if you haven't seen the movie or if you don't know too much about where his career ended, but it maybe wasn't where he was hoping it would go. And so I have to say, as the assigned podcast Hanksophile, that it pains me to say that I think he was bizarrely miscast, or his performance just didn't really connect with me as well. And so I do think that his character or maybe his performance was a weaker point of the film.
Next up on our list, we have Everything Everywhere All at Once, Best Picture winner. This is directed by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, known as Daniels. The logline reads: a middle aged Chinese immigrant is swept up into an insane adventure in which she alone can save existence by exploring other universes and connecting with the lives she could have led. We won't belabor Everything Everywhere All at Once too much because we had our full episode breaking down a scene from the film. But again, this movie celebrates life and love. It has such a powerful message to me. I think only the Daniels could have made this, and especially in the way
Mhm.
it was made. It's just unbelievably funny. It's full of heart, and to boot, it is a complete technical marvel that I think deserved
Mhm.
every technical award, every craftsmanship award that it received. It was just truly my favorite movie of the year
Hmm.
by a long shot, and I'm so happy to celebrate its win tonight and tell everyone I can about the film, really.
Yeah, that's very well said, Cody. I think it's a very meticulously and well crafted film. And I think it's very ambitious and it fires on all cylinders from the very get go. And I really admire that about it because it does tackle some pretty complicated sci fi concepts, but it does it in stride and it does it confidently. So I would say it's a must see, and I'm very, very happy to see that the Academy recognized this as Best Picture.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll add on top of that, echoing everything you guys said, so happy to see Michelle Yeoh finally get recognized with the Best
Hmm.
Actress win. How great of a moment
Hmm.
was that, and so well deserved.
The next film we're going to talk about is The Fabelmans, which was directed by Steven Spielberg. The logline reads: Growing up in a post World War II era, young Sammy Fabelman aspires to become a filmmaker as he reaches adolescence, but soon discovers a shattering family secret and explores how the power of films can help him see the truth. So overall, I enjoyed this film. I think it works best when it focuses on the craft of filmmaking, which when it focuses on that, I think the film really delivers. I think some of the other family oriented drama that's injected into the film maybe is a little less effective.
Hmm.
But I do feel bad saying that because I know this is a very personal film for Spielberg and it's completely based off of his life. And so it may seem melodramatic, but it's based on true events. I'd say overall the film's worth recommending, but it wasn't my favorite of the films that were nominated for Best Picture.
I'll be honest, this movie I probably need to rewatch. I think it was like my fuzziest viewing out of all of these movies. I was just up really late trying to watch it, and it was good. I enjoyed it. I think it shines when they try to capture the magic of filmmaking, which they do in a couple key scenes. And it felt really fun and brought me back to those moments when, we were kind of discovering the magic of movie making and how people react to it in high school.
Hmm.
So I really connected with that. But yeah, I agree. Starts to lose its way a little bit and lose me a little bit in the process over how long it can feel, but great
Mhm.
performances from Paul Dano, Michelle Williams, the cast, Seth Rogen. I am kind of in the middle on this one.
Yeah, yeah. I completely agree with both of you. There's a lot of magic here, the magic
Hmm.
of cinema. As people who are trying to podcast about our love of movies and cinema, there's a lot of emotional gut punches that come in the movie as a result. But for me, there's this certain formulaic element compared to a lot of these other Best Picture nominees, and I wanted it to feel a lot more creative with the form and what it was trying to do, a little less dramatic, family drama centric. But as Mark says, based on true events, it's hard to eliminate a personal experience like that from the film. So yeah, to the vast majority of people, I'd recommend the film. It's a good watch overall. All right, up next is Tar, directed by Todd Field. The logline reads: Set in the international world of Western classical music, the film centers on Lydia Tarr, widely considered one of the greatest living composer conductors and the first female director of a major German orchestra. So, for those who haven't seen Tar, one thing to be clear about is that Lydia Tarr is a fictional character created for the film, which I was a little unclear about going into it, honestly. I thought it was maybe docu style covering a real person, or at least Kate Blanchett portraying a real historical figure. Wondering why I had never heard of Lydia Tarr. Turns out created for the film, and very, very convincingly created. This is a Kate Blanchett powerhouse performance. It is so fascinating and well researched on the musical level, and just the dialogue in the film itself. You can tell there was so much detail and thought put into those conversations and how these experts and professionals in their field would be speaking to each other. We get almost no context being thrown into the scene. They just start going at it, and you are forced to keep up. And that's great. I love that you have to put in the work, and it's a challenge. And I think that that challenge leads to a really interesting portrait of toxicity in these modern times, as well as the result of fame.
Cody, I'm so glad that you mentioned that you thought this was a real person because I think that is the ultimate testament to Kate Blanchett's performance in this film. I think it's otherworldly. I think it's one of the best female performances I've seen in recent times. I think she completely gets engulfed by this character. It's entirely believable, every action she has. And most importantly for this film, it really delves into the intoxicating nature of power and its pull on our actions. And it unravels in very fascinating ways, maybe some ways that you may predict. But my only gripe with the film is that it ends on a note that I think ultimately rings a bit false to me.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, Mark, because the ending was my main issue with this film. I was just, it was like a 5-star film to me, to be
Hmm.
honest, like up until the ending. And it just felt like, even though it's an overall commentary on pretension, by the end, it sort of had a cheap punchline at the expense of others, which came across as
Mm.
pretentious to me, like the exact thing that
Hmm.
it's commentating on. You know what I mean? So amazing performance by Blanchett. The detail, the craft of this movie is incredible. And this is the one that I probably thought about the most out of all 10 Best Picture nominees after seeing it. I still think about it. The directorial nature of this movie was really fascinating, and you kind of get that sense of a person breaking down mentally as you start to watch it. The next one on our list is Top Gun Maverick, directed by Joseph Kosinski. The logline is: after 30 years, Maverick is still pushing the envelope as a top naval aviator, but must confront ghosts of his past when he leads Top Gun's elite graduates on a mission that demands the ultimate sacrifice from those chosen to fly it. So I'm happy I get to talk about this one first because I think Jimmy Kimmel really nailed it. This is the movie that brought us back to the theaters last year, and in a big way. It felt like watching this, like movies are back. I had
Hmm.
so much fun watching this in theaters. I saw it with my wife, and we had a blast. I mean, we weren't expecting anything going into it, and we just left with like the biggest smiles on our faces and almost like a very weird patriotic sense of pride coming out of this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tying it into 2022 being a year where we get back outside, it felt like a really big celebration of life and just a ton of heart in this film. A lot of really fun, clever magic moments that made me, kind of fall in love with film. And it was great to see how technical this movie was, right? The way that they approached these F-18s, the flight patterns, the way that that experience of flying was really brought to life on screen and in the theater. You really felt it. So it was such a fun ride. And I use that word intentionally. I had a great time with this movie, and I really recommend seeing it if you haven't seen it. It was one of my favorites of the year.
Yeah, it is so strange to be here celebrating the films of 2022 with you guys, and me saying that Top Gun Maverick is one of my top films on this list this year, and of any film
Wow.
this year. Uh, the original Top Gun just wasn't really for me. I understand the obsession. I've seen it with friends in the best environment possible at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery at sort of a live screening, and it's not something I've ever connected with. I'm
Hmm.
not cheering at those moments, but I appreciate it. And yet, this film, Maverick, was one of the most pure, fun, and adrenaline filled experiences I've had in a
Yes.
theater in recent memory, not just last year. I saw it multiple times. Connor, I saw it with my wife too, and we went to see it again in
That's
IMAX just to
awesome.
get that
Yeah.
experience. So it was great to see it win Best Sound.
Yeah.
Just sort of vibrating in your seat from those flyovers. It's just a very thrilling experience. It's just a well-made blockbuster with
Hmm.
massive set pieces, really high stakes, so much fun.
Yeah, Cody, I think you stole some of my thunder.
Oh,
I was just gonna say it's great to see a film like this being recognized because it truly is a peak blockbuster film, and it's a type of movie that's usually overlooked during the awards season. So I was
yeah.
happy to see that it was nominated for Best Picture. I really didn't expect much going into this because, like Cody, I wasn't an enormous fan of the original. But I will say that this sequel delivers a lot of the high octane thrills, but at the same time, it still gives a really coherent plot with actual stakes. It's
Yeah.
easy to follow. You don't get lost in the minutia, but there's still some emotional gravity to the situation that's going on. And not that he needed to, but Tom Cruise does prove that he is one of the greatest living action stars alive.
Hmm.
Next up, we have Triangle of Sadness, directed by Ruben Ostlund. And the logline is a fashion model celebrity couple join an eventful cruise for the super rich. So in Triangle of Sadness, I really thought that form and function were married well. They used a lot of the tools of the set, such as camera operation in the way that you are approaching, let's just say, the nature of a cruise ship. That's as far as I'll go with that.
Hmm.
These tools place you in this extremely opulent environment with these characters, and they are so insufferable, but at the same time, very fun to watch. The film really takes a notable third act turn that many people will have heard about having not watched the film. And as I was talking about with All Quiet on the Western Front, I just love movies about process, just professionals doing their job, and how that could equally go awry.
Mhm.
And I think this was really just like a great version of a show like Below Deck, the reality program where you're seeing people on a ship performing their tasks and functions and how that can go so wrong. And then with this complete turn in the third act.
Have you guys ever had the experience of really wanting to enjoy a film that everybody seems to be praising, and then you watch it and you just don't feel that way?
Yeah.
Sure.
I guess that this is that film for me because I think this was my least favorite out of the nominees this year. I found the first half to be incredibly grating at times. It literally features a character shouting the themes of the movie over a PA system. And there's this central comedic set piece that everybody raves about that I just didn't find funny at all. I felt like it was overlong. And, hearing you talk about it, Cody, about the below the deck life, I do think that that's a great point, and that's where one of the points that shines for this movie. But I will say that I got the same thing out of a show like White Lotus, where they tap into the similar themes, but balance that comedy and social commentary in a more effective way. I actually thought the last third of the film was probably the strongest,
Hmm.
and it gave some pretty biting commentary about systems of power and resources.
Yeah, totally. And the main thing I'll add is I was surprised to see that Charles B. Dean wasn't mentioned in the in memoriam section of the Oscars tonight. I felt like
Hmm.
it was a very bizarre omission and such a heartbreaking story of her death, and really delivered a super strong performance in this movie. And overall, Triangle of Sadness might take really obvious and gross roads to get there, but the social satire, like you guys said in the third act, just revealed a really intelligent commentary about class dynamics and what we as people will do to both preserve them and to quickly adapt to them. So I enjoyed that aspect of the movie.
The last film on the list is Women Talking, which was directed by Sarah Polley. And the logline reads: In 2010, the women of an isolated religious community grapple with the reconciling of a brutal reality with their faith. All right, so I really enjoyed this film. I think it's a really heavy but an important film that centers around this debate that's held by a stellar cast of actresses. I think this film is almost entirely dialogue driven, which may not appeal to everybody, but I found it to be incredibly gripping. It covers a pretty serious topic regarding sexual assault with the appropriate amount of emotional weight due to the extraordinary performances. And I honestly feel by the end of this film, seeing Jessie Buckley's performance cemented her as one of my favorite actresses working today.
So I know this is a little bit of a contentious one in our Scenecraft group
Here,
here.
here
Sparked
we
a lot of
go.
discussion.
Here
So
we go.
Let's hear it.
I know Mark really liked this movie. I did not like it as much. And I felt like for how important the content is and how glad I am to see the story brought to the big screen,
Yeah.
this movie just felt oddly flat in its portrayal of human characters, like real people. It's an amazing cast. I mean, Rooney Mara, Jessie Buckley, Claire Foy, Frances McDormand, briefly. They all showcase their acting skill by, I think, overcoming really simplistic writing that feels almost like the Seven Dwarves, like happy, dopey, sleepy, Doc, Grumpy. Like they're all
Oh,
very one note in their character
Yeah.
portrayal.
Yeah.
And that's the writing. So it felt more archetypal than like real complex people to me. And it really diminished the message of the movie. I got really wrapped up in that. So it didn't feel super powerful to me in that sense. And that was my main issue with this film.
Cody, before you go, I have to fire back a little bit on some of that.
Okay.
Because, okay, you could say that the characters may be a little bit more one note, but given the runtime of the film, I think the purpose of it is to show that even though these women who have been through these horrific
Yeah,
events, and all of them have experienced that in their lives, they all take a different perspective on it. And so, in
sure.
order to condense that into a film, they kind of have to stick to that one way that they dealt with it. And so, the overall purpose of the film is to show that even though they may have differing perspectives, they all come together to reach a decision at the end.
Cody, what do you think?
Yeah, I kind of lean more towards Connor's thoughts on it, but Mark, I also completely see what you're saying in how it's almost sort of this exercise in these various reactions and how each person deals with trauma in a very different way. But at the same time, I think despite a film's runtime, it should aim to have as much dimension as it possibly can in its characters. And Connor, I felt what you're saying, where each character has a kind of one note performance, no matter how great that performance might be. I thought the dialogue was very redundant, despite its crucial message. It did fall a bit flat for me too, but one way or another, for good or for bad, it actually has stuck with me for what that's worth.
Nice. No, I think those are great points. Maybe just to wrap up, what we could do is each run through our top 3 films out of the Best Picture nominees for this year. So, what do you think, Mark? What were your top 3 if you had to pick 3?
So, for number 3, I would say is Women Talking.
Oh.
Number
Oh,
number 2 is Everything Everywhere All at Once. And then number 1 for me was The Banshees of Inisherin. How about you, Connor?
so coming in at number 3 is Top Gun Maverick.
Hmm.
Really had a lot of fun with that one. Number 2, Banshees of Inisherin. And then number 1, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, those are great picks. I had Top Gun Maverick as my number 3 as well. It just snuck in there right ahead of Banshees. I really thought long and hard about
Yeah.
how fun that was, how positive it was. It was an important moment for me to see that multiple times and be reminded of the magic of the theater and the dark room. All Quiet on the Western Front, though late in the game for me, snuck into my number 2.
Hmm.
Again, it's immaculate portrayal of all this detail. Number 1, Everything Everywhere All at Once. You can hear me gush about it wildly on our last episode, so I won't get too much into it again, but so happy that won Best Picture.
Yeah. Yes. All right.
Well, guys, that was a very fun and spirited discussion on our first ever Nightcap, and what better way to do it than talk about the 95th Academy Awards. I do think it's really easy to be cynical about these awards and about the awards circuit in general, considering how much gets missed and left out. Certain people don't get recognized that you wish did, but you know what? If nothing else, it's just a great way to celebrate filmmaking as a whole and just get more movies out into the public eye, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this night represents the craft of film, and it allows us all to celebrate these films that we've all seen together and recognize the people that made them come to life.
Hmm.
Yeah, I totally agree. And this is a yearly tradition for us. It's a really fun night where we get to sort of live text. We've been doing it for about 10 years, maybe more. So it's always a great
Wow.
night. We do a ballot between the 3 of us every year. It's a different winner every year. It's always competitive. And I think it's a good way to discuss and see what's recognized out of the movies that we've watched over the course of the year.
Yeah. And not to get too mushy here on the podcast, but I think this has been a great way to ensure that we do make that effort, all see together, talk about all these films, and just really glad to be here with you guys tonight.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Well, I think that wraps up our Oscars Nightcap. Thank you all for joining us. Did you have any favorite moments from this year's Academy Awards? You can email us at scenecraftpodcasts@gmail.com with any of your thoughts or comments, or follow us on Instagram at scenecraftpodcasts for the latest updates on the show. This Wednesday, March 15th, join us for the main show where we break down a scene from Cocaine Bear by Elizabeth Banks. Talk to you then.